So you're a golfer who's been trying in vain to try and shallow the club shaft. You're trying to get this look during your downswing where the club shaft ends up much more on plane under the trail shoulder like so. But no matter what you've tried so far, you've had lessons in the past, you've tried fixes such as back to the target, hands firing down, you've tried everything, but it hasn't worked. Every time you make a downswing, it ends up looking like so. Club shaft steepens and comes across the golf ball like this. Now, this is what I see day in, day out on the practice tee, and I promise you I have helped thousands of golfers to stop this. And I'm going to do that today for you in just a couple of minutes with a simple drill, a simple concept for you to understand, which will revolutionize this move for you. So let's get stuck in and let's make sure that from now on, every swing you make, your club shaft ends up on this plane coming down instead of this steep and across move. Let's do it. First of all, what do we mean exactly when we talk about shallowing the club shaft? So on the left-hand side, I have an LPGA Tour player, and if anything, she is guilty of shallowing too much. She ends up a little bit too much under plane. But what do we mean? When she comes down, quite simply, if you look at the angle of the club shaft here, in this position, it is pointing back towards the golf ball, and it is on a tilted angle. I make the analogy, it's as though her club shaft is going up and down a rooftop rather than a vertical wall. So that's what it is to be shallow in the club shaft. So the club shaft, instead of steepening during the downswing, instead of starting to have the club head move over this way and down, it is actually moving this way and down plane like so. Okay, so that's what it means. That is what shallowing the club shaft is. Now if you have a look at an example, one of my students on the right recently came into the studio, and the opposite move, a steepening move as he comes down. So notice how the club shaft here ends up almost perpendicular to the ground. So the club shaft is very much pointing just straight up and down like this, as though it's almost nearly on a vertical wall. And again, compare it to the club shaft position of the LPGA player on the left hand side, you can see the big difference there. And I sometimes call this the Marie Antoinette golf swing, because you'll see when he comes down, the club shaft actually intersects his neck there, and it's as though the club is acting as a sword and it's off with his head, right? That is the steepening move. That is the over the top, the opposite of shallowing that club shaft there during the downswing. And you see where his club head ends up. It's too far to the right hand side of the ball and really in no man's land. So like I said, like I promised, we are going to get to that left hand side picture like the pro, and we're going to do that in a couple of simple steps. It won't take you more than a couple of minutes to get the feel, and you will be able to shallow that club shaft. Let's get to it. We want to look like the tour player, and like I said, it's super simple, 2 minutes. So the first thing you need to know is there is literally an epidemic of golfers standing on the range and making backswings where they try and get width to their backswings like so, and the hands come high, the club head's high, and guess what? It's already on too steep of a plane. The hands haven't traced an arc back and behind you. So you need to not get your hands to work straight up like this and end up way above the pitch of your shoulders, because if your hands are way above the pitch of your shoulders, what needs to happen next? Well, you'd have to make some big loop coming down to get them back on plane. Guess what? You're very unlikely to make that big loop. The tour players are very, very unlikely to make a big loop like that, okay? So the first thing you need to start to recognize is, no, you're not trying to make a backswing where your hands are here. Rather, if you watch at generations of good players, what do they tend to look like at the top of their swings? Well, the hands go backwards, upwards, inwards like this incrementally throughout the backswing, and they end up in a position where the hands here, if you look at where they are in relation to my trail shoulder, they're not obscuring that shoulder, they're not above that shoulder, they are behind and to the left of the shoulder as you look at me. So my left arm is roughly parallel to the tilt in my shoulders, and the hands are to the right of the shoulder. From here, my club shaft is already on a much better plane, and to come over the top from there to steepen it, I'd have to actively work this way. Once I'm here, I'm able to come back down into the golf ball on a much flatter angle.
that steepening move doesn't need to happen simply because you've changed your top of a backswing. So I'll repeat that one more time. You don't want your top of backswing to look like this with your hands way up high. You want to try and make your hands go inwards like so. And if your hands are there, then yes, I promise you that is the first step towards being able to shallow the shaft because you are in position to do it. That's the first thing. Then the second thing I see all the time is golfers, when they make their backswing, they are trying to make moves such as hinging the left wrist like this. They're trying to bend the arm to try and create potentially some kind of lag, some kind of lever system. I'm not too sure what they're trying to do. But again, if you start to hinge the wrists, flex the trail arm, what does that do? Well, that sends everything upwards. It's a vertical move. It's a vertical force. And if you're doing that, well, guess what? You're not going to have any depth whatsoever. Your hands are going to be in that position I just described as the nemesis of shallowing the shaft, up here above the shoulders, right? So when you make your backswing, you're not trying to hinge the left wrist. You're not trying to bend the right arm. You're not doing this. If you want to get the depth we described, you have to feel like the arms are staying relatively straight. So again, if I do this in backswing, you see how straight my arm stays. If my arm stays really straight, how much depth can I create? Loads, really lots and lots and lots. So yes, the right arm is going to flex a little bit, but it's going to flex to about this degree. So it's going to flex to about 100-degree angle between the humerus and the forearm. It's not going to go beyond that. It's not going to go to this position, which is where so many of you finish. I'm on top of my backswing, my right arm's too flexed. If I start to straighten it a bit, see how it adds depth? It's putting the hands lower and more to the left of my trail shoulder in a position to be able to come down that plane. So that's the two things. If you start to make a backswing where you take your hands inwards while keeping your arms straight, you will no longer have this move coming down simply because you are in a proper top of backswing position. So that's what you're going to try and do. You're going to spend 2 minutes trying to make your hands go in with your arms straight like this. Now, if you just want a quick drill, a little exercise for you to be able to put this into practice on your next visit to the range, like I said, 2 minutes practice, you're going to solve it. Take an alignment stick, take a golf club. I want you to take your setup position, ball would be here, and quite simply position this stick at a 45-degree angle like this, going across your trail foot. And in position here, what I want you to try and do during your backswing is I want you to get to a position where you try and get the hands to go back along this stick. So you're not taking your hands back in a straight line, you're taking your hands back along this stick behind you. It often feels to golfers when they start doing this for the first time, but it's as though they were literally swinging their hands around their belt height rather than up in the air. It just feels so low to the majority of golfers who aren't used to doing this. Okay, so you're trying to trace this line of your hands, and furthermore, when you get to left arm parallel to the ground here, right here, your lead arm parallel to the ground, you're trying to make it match that orange stick on the ground for me. So you're not here, that wouldn't match, that'd be scissoring. You're trying to get your left arm to match that stick on the ground. And if I do that, my hands are definitely inwards. I'm in a great position to come down with the club shaft underneath my trail shoulder and into out through the golf ball. So simple drill for you. Put your stick, put your alignment club down, hands go that way, you match the left arm to it, and the job's done. You've got it sussed. Keep your arm straight as you're doing it. Be ultra precise. You can overdo it, you can underdo it. Just be in that ballpark. It's going to help you.
For those of you wondering about my pupil, so this was his first ever golf lesson. On the left-hand side, like I said, he would take the hands outwards. Instead of working inwards, they're working outwards towards the golf ball. So there's very little depth here to the hands, and they end up above the right shoulder. So the left arm's above the plane of the shoulders, the hands are above the shoulder, even a little bit to the right of that shoulder, with the arms flexing. Now you know now better, you're not meant to do that. You have to have your hands working inwards with the arms feeling like they're as straight as you can get them. Again, this is his first lesson, and if you have a look at the backswing, it's starting to get much more inwards. You can see there's more depth here. The hands of the top of the backswing now are much more to the left-hand side of that trail shoulder. So what was happening as a result of this, as he came down, on the left we have the Marie Antoinette downswing, club shaft steepens, goes through the neck, right here. Club head enters the body and the head. And now, quite simply, because of the extra depth, you can see he's able to come down on a much shallower plane underneath the shoulder, club head entering the body sort of mid-spine. So that was just in his first ever golf lesson. I promise you, you can get the feels for this really, really quickly. You're going to do it. So just remember, hands in, arms straight, you've got this locked and loaded. No more coming over the top, no more steepening. Learn to shallow that shaft. This is how you do it.
Thank you very much for watching the video. If you have any comments at all, then please don't hesitate to pop them down in the comments below. Likewise, if you haven't yet, then please do like and subscribe to my channel. It's absolutely going to help you play your best golf. Likewise, it will help me build a sound community of golfers all wanting to improve. If you'd like to work with me in person, you can do so right here on the south coast of England, near Bournemouth, or wherever you are in the world through the Skillist app. It's a fantastic way to get feedback no matter where you are in the world, and be sure to be on the steady roads towards your best golf. Happy golfing.